this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the belief system of 3D, 4D, and 5D levels of consciousness, and I'm going to show you how you can easily make the shift into a higher level. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron, and I help people expand their consciousness. Now, on this video, I'll be sharing with you the difference in the belief system of being in what is called a 3D level of consciousness, a 4D level of consciousness, and a 5D level of consciousness. Now, the reason I'm going to share this with you is because right now on the planet, there are these different perspectives, these different levels of consciousness that are all available to us right now in the present moment. Now, first off, let's just recognize these as different rates of vibration that come with it, different perceptions. Now, in general, what is happening on the planet right now is there is a shift in vibration that is happening. The 3D reality is still an option, the 4D reality is an option, the 5D reality is an option, almost like you can think of it as a lens through which we can see the world if we choose it. And the idea and the truth of the matter is that it's not so much that when we ascend to a higher level, we go to some other separate location that's away from where we are. It's more so that as we raise our vibration, we then perceive of a reality that is equal to that level of belief and that level of being. So, getting into higher states of consciousness is not about going anywhere other than being here right now. And I say that because as a lot of people go through this transition, the way that we interpret it, sometimes we'll get these dreams or these visions that it has to do with going somewhere else. Even back in 2012, it was a very popularized way of going about it, thinking, oh, this is where we are, 3D level of reality. We're going to go to a 5D. We're going to be a completely different place. We're going to go somewhere else. And it's more so about understanding that these are all available right now, and we shift through them without even knowing it. There are times you're in a 4D level of existence or a 4D level of consciousness. There are times you may get triggered. You may watch the news and get pulled back into a 3D level of consciousness. And there are times that you may be in a 5D level of consciousness. It all fluctuates depending on your state of being and your level of consciousness in that moment. But what you can begin to do is train yourself to be in these higher states of consciousness. So let me give you a general overview, and then we'll get into the specifics of each belief so that you can see where you are and how you can move up the scale. So to look at this, let's see 3D, 4D, 5D. 3D level of consciousness is an identification with form. 3D level of consciousness is about duality. Good, bad, light, dark, up, down. This is duality. And this is also a reality of control. Because on the planet right now, there are certain systems that are in place that keep people in a level of control. The financial system is one of them. There is the way, you call it the black government, some people call it many different names, the cabal or whatever. And whatever it is, there are certain powers at play that we think has a lot more power than they do, but honestly they don't have as much power. The real power is with the people. But the thing is if you control the focus of 7.5 billion people, it then creates a certain timeline. So when we look at this, what we see is that there's a certain level of control that may be happening that keep people in the 3D level of consciousness. Because the 3D level of consciousness will also have within it lower vibrational states of emotion. So shame, fear, guilt, anger. If we keep people entrained in those vibrations, they stay in the 3D reality, therefore reinforcing that. And then from that point, it just keeps the level of control in it. So 3D level of reality is identification. It's thinking, this is who I am. It's when we grow up thinking that we are our body, or we emphasize the ego. And it's also the dream of separation. It's where we believe we are separate from everyone else. And it's a funny thing sometimes. Sometimes I'll notice it, like, when it comes to sports teams, for example. I was talking about this the other day. When it comes to sports teams, somebody that likes the Raiders and somebody that likes the Rams, for example, they may be at a football game and they may dislike each other. And they may even want to fight each other because of their positionalities of what team they're on and how passionate they are about the sport. The truth is, these two people have so much more in common than they even can imagine because they both like football. And there are many other people on the planet that don't even like football. And if you were standing on a line somewhere and you tried to have a conversation with somebody that didn't even like football, it would be less in common to somebody that actually is really and really passionate about football, even though they like a different team. So the point of that is understanding that whatever we emphasize, if we emphasize separateness, we create more of that and we create more conflict. Instead, look at what we have in common. Because we have a lot more in common than we can imagine. We could even look at that of race. This is my culture, that is your culture. I am this color, you are that color. And we can emphasize that difference in color. But if you were on a different planet where there was jello-like beans, and there was like floating jellyfish, and there was all of these different animals and things that were so different than you, you would look at that other person and be like, I recognize you. Please come. Let's go through this together because we have so much in common. But you see, it's all relative. We're all floating on a planet. We have so much more in common than we can even imagine, but yet we like to emphasize the separateness because that's how we've been wired. But that is the belief system of a 3D level of reality. 3D level of reality, we think that we are our ego. Not aware always that we are immortal, spiritual beings living temporary human experiences. And part of the purpose of life is to wake up to who we really are. To wake up out of the 3D identification and realize, hey, I'm way more than just this. There is so much more to life than just this. And as we become aware of that, we start to expand ourselves. And then as we expand ourselves, we start to see things with more awareness. Because we realize that this is just a dream. It is a dream, it's identification with form, and it's who we think we are, but it's not really just who we are. But part of the purpose of 3D reality is to wake up. It is to learn to observe the thoughts, it's to learn to observe the ways we may get triggered. Because you cannot solve a problem from the same level the problem was created, as Einstein said. In the same way, you cannot transcend 3D by being entrenched in 3D. You must learn to observe 3D. You must learn to observe your thoughts and know that the thoughts are not who you are, but in 3D level of reality, you think that the thoughts you think are your identity. The things that have happened to you in the past is your identity. So, identification is the belief system of 3D reality. Separation is a belief system of 3D reality. Labels are a 3D system of reality. Desire is a level of 3D reality. I'm here and I really want to get over there. That is a 3D level paradigm. Now there are higher levels of paradigm where you can still manifest, but in the 3D level of reality, that's where it mostly stays, is in this desire, this longing, always wanting to be somewhere else, not wanting to really be in the present moment. And another thing when it comes to 3D level of reality is linear time-space reality. There's a big emphasis on it. Not that it doesn't exist in 4D. However, this time-space linear reality is like, this is my timeline, then this happens in the past, and then the past is over here, and the future is over here. And there's an emphasis on it. Now, this is all 3D level of reality. Now, what we are doing as a planet is we are waking up from 3D levels of consciousness and moving into 4 and 5D levels of consciousness. What you can think of it as is the dream that we live in is transforming. That back in the day, this is back, and just see if this resonates with you. If you ever read Dolores Cannon's books on what's called QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, where people are in the deepest levels of brainwave activity, their higher self comes through, and you can ask any question, and they'll ask questions like, why did you incarnate at this time? Ask questions like, what is this relationship with this person in your life? Questions like, what was this soul contract? All these different things that the higher self knows. Ask those kind of questions. Her books are transcripts of those sessions with thousands and thousands of people. Now, thousands and thousands of people that have gone to her have said that the reason they came to Earth right now is to go through this transition from 3D to 4D and 5D levels of consciousness. Because there's this quickening of vibration, and as we go through this, we're able to get rid of a lot of karma. We're able to really move ourselves in a quick way up the vibrational scale, and we're able to go through immense transformation in a short period of time, and we're doing it together. We're doing it collectively. In the past, you may have had the Mayan civilization that ascended their vibration. out of into a new level of reality, we're all doing it together, and we're staying on planet for this. This is a physical type thing as well. So we're going through this transition. And what happened is there was a call that was sent out back in the 1940s, 1930s, a call into the universe that said, we need light workers here. Earth, Gaia, needs help so that we can begin to change this planet. Now the thing is there's free will here, and you forget who you are when you're born here. There's other planets where you may go and you may remember who you are, and there may be a higher vibration where you just always remember that you are unconditional love and bliss, you are an immortal spiritual being, you remember your life purpose, all of this stuff. There's a veil of forgetfulness here on earth, and you forget that. And what happened is there was a certain level of control of this 4D level reality. There were certain beings that were influenced this reality in a negative way. There was a certain level of control over the planetary of how everything goes. And what happened is this call was sent out, and one of the triggers for it was a nuclear bomb, because when a nuclear bomb goes off, it doesn't just affect our reality, it ripples out and it affects other reality systems. And that's not allowed, because we can do whatever we want within our own free will, but if it starts to influence other galaxies, other universes like that, then it becomes something that needs to be dealt with. This call goes out. Light workers, high vibrational beings, many different forms of souls. You listening to this video, you would not have heard or even been watching this video if you were not one of these people. A light worker from a higher dimensional state of consciousness decided out of compassion and love that you would come to Earth to help make this transition. Because here's the thing. It's not like we can just, as higher dimensional beings, influence this reality and do all the work for us. In order for us to influence it, we must incarnate within the reality system itself, because that's how it works. We must forget who we are, come here. We knew it was going to be a little bit more difficult because we were going to forget. But then we're going to go through the process of remembering. So we decided to come here. Then what happened is we came here, we forgot who we are, we go through these challenging, now we're waking up again. If you're listening to this video right now, you are waking up out of the 3D and into higher states, 4D or 5D level of consciousness. And 5D level of consciousness is where most of us chill much more of the time. 3D is just a very temporary thing. And we're moving through this transition right now, and over the next 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it is, a lot of stuff's going to change on the planet for the better. Some of it will appear to be worse at first because its old system's breaking down. But nonetheless, we're moving out of the 3D and 4D. Now let's look at 4D level of reality. 4D level of reality could also be considered more of a dreamlike state. Some people would consider it the astral realms. When you think of 4D reality, think of things more in terms of vibration. It's vibration. It's also something you start to experience more so than identify with. So in 4D level of reality, there is also more flexibility. The belief system would be more flexibility in time and space. Instead of saying these things happen linearly in 3D, we say things are beginning to happen more now. You can begin to play around with time. You could say, oh, I'm running kind of late for this thing. Instead of rushing to get there, trust the process and simply visualize you getting somewhere on time. Works like magic, because time, the more identity we give to time and the more emphasis we give to time, the more time we create. That's a 3D level of reality, 3D level of consciousness. 4D, we realize that it's more about being and it's more about vibration. So if there's something you want to experience in your life, the manifestation process would be, let me embody the vibration of it now, and let me choose my own state of being. The belief system of 3D reality is, I am a victim. Things happen to me. The belief system of 4D level of reality is you start to realize that you are a creator of your own reality. And if you're watching my videos on YouTube, then you're already embodying a 4D level of consciousness more of the time. Because you are taking responsibility for your vibration, for your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. That is the key. You must begin to embody more of that understanding that you are responsible. You could say, well, all these things happened to me in my past. But they didn't happen to you, they happened for you. And I get it, because I had a childhood that was much more painful. I get it. I had to transmute that. And the key is understanding to take responsibility for it, because the one thing you have responsibility of is how you respond to what has happened or what is happening. You can choose your response to it and choose the meaning you give it. Maybe it was a negative thing, but what you do is you see it as a way of something you could have grown from. Something that made you more strong, more powerful. A lot of the most negative things that have ever happened to me growing up or whatever it was has made me so much more powerful because I've transmuted it and I've seen it as that. In the 4D level of reality, things are more flexible. Life becomes much more of a dream. Think of Harry Potter. Harry Potter resonated with so many millions or billions of people because it's closer to our true reality of things being magical and things being much more flexible. But right now, we have an emphasis on 3D reality through the collective consciousness of 7.5 billion people or more. Therefore, we emphasize that magic isn't real. Magic could be real. In Atlantis times, back in the day, magic was real. But there was greed in Atlantis times, and what happens was we ended up falling back down into a 3D level of we ended up falling back down into a 3D level of consciousness. But now we are redoing that and raising our vibration back up. So 4D level of consciousness is when you may begin to play with crystals. You may understand geometric form. Everything is geometry. You may begin to understand that time is more flexible, that when it comes to this process, it's more about vibration. You are a creator of your own reality. That is 4D level of consciousness. And as you realize that life is more of a dream, the more you realize that, the more your life becomes a dream. Have fun with this process. Allow things to be. Watch how your life begins to change. Now, 5D level of consciousness is also an option. 5D level of consciousness is actually beyond that of belief, beyond that of reasoning. This is when you get into being. This is when you understand that everyone is connected. The belief system of 5D reality is that we're all one and we are all connected. 4D is there's still a little bit of duality, but it's more flexible. Good, bad, light, dark. It's still there, but we have a little bit more awareness. Awareness is what raises us into these higher states. 5D is the awareness and the knowing that you are connected to everyone else you come into contact with. You have a connection whether you realize it or not. And when you see other people as extensions as yourself, you then treat people in a new way. You then realize that they're not so separate, and you start to see things as more of what you put out is what you get back, because what you do to someone else, you do to another aspect of yourself. However, in a 5D level of reality, you start to let go of labels. I remember listening to Sadhguru's experience, who's like this enlightened guy from India. And when he went through his enlightened experience, he was on top of this hill and he could not see where he began and where he ended. He dropped the identity, the vessel of separation, the vessel of identity, of labels. He dropped it and he realized that he is everything. When you transcend 3-4D reality, it's about realizing that you are not just this avatar body, you are also the dimension in of itself. You are not just the drop in the ocean, you are also the ocean in a drop. That's the 5D level of consciousness. So you become more present to the moment. You just are. Everything is happening now. We are moving into that as we go on, and there is more opportunity for us to be in that. Be present to the moment. You can become aware of the beliefs you have. You can become aware of the thoughts you have, but begin to let them go. This is when you move out of reacting to the environment and when you move out of the desire and you realize that everything is perfect as it is. This is also when you begin to let go and surrender. And in the 5D level of consciousness, there's an awareness that you are divine. You are divine light. And you can allow this to kind of shine through you. You can allow yourself to embody more of this light and understand that what you do to someone else comes back to you because you start to, in a way, live within the universe itself. You allow the universe to manifest through you. When I make these videos, the only reason I can do daily videos on YouTube is because I get into a flow state and I allow it to flow through. I allow this 5D energy to flow through to you, and then people say, oh, when I watch your video, I get a buzz. I feel really good. Well, it's not me. It's not Aaron, the avatar from 3-4D. It is the 5D level of consciousness that flows through me. I become a vessel. You see, we start to lose I. You could say, Aaron, that sounds egotistical. Are you saying that you're 5D level of consciousness? I'm saying that in a 5D level of consciousness, I begin to disidentify with these forms so it doesn't matter because there can't really be ego there for it to work. Can't be like, I'm going to get into a 5D level of consciousness and grow on subscribers on YouTube and get more people to listen to me. No, it has to be a divine intention. This in 5D is when we begin to align with the divine. Align with the divine. I like that. So being, aligning with the divine now, being here now, and being in unconditional love, you are connected to everyone else. Being more in your heart center, create from your heart. I have meditations for creating from your heart as well that will help you with this process. So these three perspectives are here right now. You can choose to be in 3D, and I said choose, but you will feel like you're a victim in it, and you'll feel like you don't have a choice, but don't listen to the news so much. Don't watch the news. Be aware of how you feel around certain people. Begin to observe the thoughts in 3D. You then begin to move into 4D, where things become more of a dream. You want an easy way to raise your vibration? Have more fun. See things as flexible. See things as a form of dream. Be in the present moment and understand that as you take responsibility for your life, you move into a higher state of consciousness, and then you can eventually observe your beliefs, and then you can let them go, and you will then be in a 5D level of consciousness, being present to the moment, aligning to the divine, understanding who you are. We're all going through this shift together. We all have options to be in these states of consciousness right now. It is simply, where are we vibrating and what do we choose? So, question for you. Which state of consciousness do you think you're in right now, and what will you do to let go of old beliefs, or to let go in order to be in the higher states? Go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know where you are, because maybe I'll make more videos on showing how to go from this to this to this. You let me know. Also, I have a meditation that will help you to raise your vibrational set point. It is the meditation that allowed me to move from 3 to 4 to 5D levels of consciousness. If you want it, it's absolutely free. It's going to be in the top of the description box below. It will help you to raise your vibration. I recommend you listen to it for 21 days. I think it can change your life. Also, I'll be doing more live Q&As on Instagram, so if you haven't followed me on Instagram yet, you'll see it right here. Live Q&As plus I post twice a day there, and you can follow me there as well. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification gear next to the subscribe button so you can see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.